Hey guys, Vega here, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the Jades of 9 Souls. We'll be getting into the numbers, synergies, uses, and basically anything you could want to know about them. There are 28 unique Jades in total, but today we'll be focusing on the red Jades, including the Immovable, Harness Force, Swift Blade, Key Blade, Health Thief, and Focus Jades. All of which are focused on buffing up Ye's Blade and Charge Strike. Before we delve in though, just a heads up that we now have a Discord, so if you want to come and hang out and have a chat, I'll leave a link below. Now without further ado, let's jump right in. Immovable Jade. The Immovable Jade can be found in the Lake Yaoshi ruins in a locked chest. This Jade costs 2 CP and reduces the charge up time for the Charge Strike when standing still. The Charge Strike deals 320% of your base attack and normally takes 0.95 seconds to charge. With the Immovable Jade equipped, this number is just about halved and goes down to 0.5 seconds, a 47% decrease. Similar to the nail arts of Hollow Knight, even with this Jade equipped, you'll still want to be charging at times you couldn't otherwise be attacking an opponent for the most DPS. Unfortunately, you do have to remain completely still to get the effect of this Jade. Despite that, it can still be useful in a variety of scenarios and builds, especially if you haven't unlocked the stun effect of the Cloud Piercer arrow, and are fighting enemies that require a charged attack to break through a shield or other effect. It has natural synergy with the Focus Jade, which further increases Charge Strike's damage and range in exchange for consuming some ki. Harness Force Jade. The Harness Force Jade is given by Shiyu in exchange for a portrait of Yi. To get this, you'll need to have gifted Xuan Xuan the 4 treasures of the study artifact located below the root node in the central transport hub. This Jade costs 1 CP to equip and will finish any ongoing charge attack if performing a perfect parry. Harness Force trades the predictability that the Immovable Jade had in exchange for costing 1 less CP, as well as being a bit harder to use. Able to complete the Charge Strike the instant you parry, provided you've started the charge prior to getting hit, this Jade essentially turns the Charge Strike into a pseudo counter ability. The moment you get hit and parry, you'll be able to strike back with the Charge Strike, although your mileage may vary depending on the enemy and its attack pattern, and it does fall short in situations where you need to execute a charge strike. At times there's nothing to parry. It does take a little bit of practice to use well, but when used right it can be a key player of a build. Since this Jade interacts with both parry and the charge attack, this Jade has a few more synergies than the Immovable Jade did. The Focus Jade is the most obvious synergy of all, and perfectly complements Harness Force. Not only is it going to boost the range and damage of the charge attack in exchange for 1 ki, but since you'll be parrying to trigger Harness Force anyway, you'll always have 1 ki to spend. Hedgehog is also a nice match. Hedgehog will deal some internal damage to an enemy each time you perfect parry, and again, since Harness Force encourages just that, it's a no-brainer. Bearing Jade, which reduces recoil after parrying, can also be useful in niche situations, guaranteeing you're still in range to unload your charge strike after being hit. And finally, Key Swipe also synergizes well by giving you an extra max ki as well as 2 ki every time you perfect parry instead of 1, meaning even more ki to spend on charge strikes or talisman attacks. Up next we have the Swift Blade Jade. The Swift Blade Jade is located in the walking chest underneath the root node in the abandoned mines. This Jade costs 2 CP to equip and increases the speed of Yi's triple slash combo at the cost of inflicting some internal damage to yourself each hit. The triple slash combo takes around 1.35 seconds to execute, meaning on average you'll be doing 2.2 attacks per second. The time to complete this combo is cut by 38.5%, taking us to around 0.83 seconds and boosting our attacks per second to 3.6, around a 60% increase. For the aerial combo, it's a bit less effective, only giving around 25% increase in attack speed, but in both cases, it comes at the cost of inflicting 5 internal damage for each swing we do, and that is applied regardless if we hit something or not. To put 5 damage into perspective, we start the game with 120 health and max out at 240 with every upgrade. This Jade provides a huge boost to Yi's DPS, and allows you to get far more damage off in any openings a boss might give you. Just keep an eye out on your internal damage, or you could end up dead before the boss is. Swift Blade Jade has quite a few potent synergies that both counteract its negatives, as well as further enhance your damage dealing ability. The Breather Jade will perfectly negate the self-inflicted internal damage of Swift Blade. You will still take some internal damage if you swing and don't hit anything though, so keep that in mind. The Reciprocation Jade is another great option. As long as you're comfortable pulling off an unbound counter, you can simply transfer the internal damage you've built up to an enemy and make them deal with it. Key Blade Jade will give your third hit a huge power boost, and since we're getting to that third hit 60% faster, this is going to become far more reliable and boost our DPS even more. Just keep in mind that it's going to drain a lot of ki, so you probably won't be using the talisman much in this setup. And last of all, we have the Last Stand Jade. This will boost our damage at low health, and since we'll be naturally taking a lot of internal damage, there is a higher chance than usual we'll be triggering this for a nice boost to our DPS, although this is definitely a high risk strategy. Key Jade Blade. This can be found in the Grotto of Scriptures entry, in a hackable chest below the elevator. This jade costs 3 CP to equip and empowers the third strike of the triple slash combo at the cost of some ki, increasing its damage and creating a shockwave, effectively extending its range. The triple slash combo consists of 2 light attacks and a slower heavy attack at the end. At maximum upgrades, the quicker strikes deal 40 damage each, with the final strike dealing 80. With the Key Blade Jade equipped, the final strike will now deal quintuple damage, boosting it all the way to a whopping 400. Not only that, but the shockwave it creates effectively gives you 238% more range. Now this is all amazing, but it does come with a huge drawback. To trigger this empowered strike, it will eat up 2 ki charges, meaning you're going to be eating through a lot of ki and probably aren't going to have much left for your talisman attacks. And it's for this reason it's not really recommended to use talisman focused jades while also having this jade equipped. So what jades does it synergize with? As we've previously mentioned, Swiftblade will further skyrocket your DPS and let you get to the empowered third strike much faster than normal. The Key Swipe Jade will help us by feeding much needed ki to sustain our empowered hits by giving us an extra maximum ki as well as an extra ki for perfect parries. Although we will take some internal damage even when perfect parrying with this jade on. And last of all, Breathe the Jade. You'll be hitting enemies anyway, so why not restore some internal damage each hit? And, as a bit of a bonus, each individual enemy the projectile hits will restore an extra 5 internal damage. Especially useful if you're using some of the above jades that inflict internal damage as a side effect. Health Thief Jade. This jade can be purchased from Shiyu for 600 Jin. The Health Thief Jade costs 2 CP and restores health when executing a successful Shadow Strike attack. Shadow Strikes are triggered by hitting an enemy in the back with a strong attack, such as the third strike of a combo, a charge strike, an arrow, or a talisman detonation. Doing this correctly will cause the attack to deal 3 times more damage, and if you have the Health Thief Jade equipped, you'll also get a heal of 15 health. This can trigger multiple times if hitting more than one target at the same time. While this jade is decent early on for some extra heals while exploring, it falls short later in the game as the 15 health heal doesn't scale with max health or pipe upgrades, and eventually gets outclassed. It's also useless for boss fights as you can't trigger Shadow Strike mid-combat, which really cripples the effectiveness of the jade. And last of the red jades, we have the Focus Jade. This jade is dropped by the mini-boss Celestial Sentinel Wu Quang in the factory production area. The Focus Jade costs 3 CP to equip and increases the range and power of the charge strike at the cost of a ki charge. The basic charge strike deals 320% of a normal slash, or 128 damage with all upgrades. With the Focus Jade equipped, this goes up by 104 damage to 232, or 580% of a normal slash. And not only that, but the range of the attack is also increased by 38%. This gives you access to some really big burst damage, and while it still does cost 1 ki charge to use, it's a lot easier to manage compared to the Key Blade, as it's only consuming 1 ki charge instead of 2, and you always have the option of not using the charge strike if you want to save your ki for a talisman attack. As for synergies, anything that helps us with the charge strike is a good match, and that leaves us with a choice of either Immovable for faster charging when standing still, or Harness Force to instantly charge a strike if perfect parrying. And that's all for this one. Consider dropping a like and subscribing if you found this helpful, and stay tuned for the next episode where we cover the blue set of jades. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.